All the coal in the world was made at the same time. It started abruptly 360 million years ago and it stopped abruptly 300 million years ago. But why? Plants pull nutrients from the soil and from the air and combine them into larger molecules that they use to live. And then when plants die, they decompose. Those larger molecules break down into smaller molecules and those nutrients are returned to the soil so that new plants can grow and use them. Except that plants can't decompose on their own. You need to bring in these decomposers, basically fungi and bacteria that are good at breaking down these larger structures into small nutritious pieces that return to the soil, and they derive some energy from that, and that's how they live. So let's go way back in time to a period before there were trees, and some plant comes along that figures out or invents the ability to make some molecules called lignins. And lignins are a revolution. They're the molecules that give trees their strength. It's the essence of wood. And so this ability spreads all around the world really quickly. Suddenly you've got woody plants and trees everywhere. So these new trees, when they die and fall over, they just lie there. The bacteria and the fungi look at it and go, I don't know what to do with these lignins. Never seen it before. It sticks around for long enough, undecomposed by fungi and bacteria that don't know what to do with it, that it turns into fossils. It turns into coal. And then 60 million years later, some bacteria or fungus figures out, through the process of evolution, how to break down lignins. It confers an amazing advantage onto the bacteria and fungi that can do it because it's a new source of food. So it spreads like wildfire around the world and essentially cuts off the production of coal. It's probably my favorite example of the way that the geological layers of the earth can tell us interesting stories about our ancient history. But here's a related question. Where does a tree come from? Like, where does the mass of a tree come from? And you might think, well, trees grow out of the ground, so the mass of a tree is slowly pulled out of the ground as it grows. But that's not true. Like, a tiny bit of the mass of a tree comes from the ground, but most of it comes from the air because most of a tree is made of carbon. So trees draw carbon dioxide through their leaves and it pulls the carbon dioxide molecules apart, separates them into carbon and oxygen. It holds onto the carbon, it adds it to the structure of its body, and it releases the oxygen as a gas. And that process is driven by energy from the sun. So in a sense, a tree is locking up solar energy into those carbon bonds by separating the carbon from oxygen. And that's why coal is such an effective fuel, because if you want to release that locked up solar energy, all you have to do is reunite the carbon inside with the oxygen in the air that it was separated from in the first place. And that's what we do. We burn coal to produce carbon dioxide. Well, we can, and I believe we should, try to reduce the amount of carbon dioxide that we produce. But maybe at the same time, we should be looking at ways to draw carbon dioxide out of the air in the way that trees do. In fact, maybe we should be planting trees so that they can pull the carbon dioxide out of the air for us.